What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the latest title update for Madden 19. I know some of you clicked on this video saying there's no way that they have updated the game yet again, but they have. They really have been updating the game a lot this year and making it a point to make sure that the game plays as best as possible. And you know, right before we get into these updates, you know, of course, I've said in the past, I'm not really a big fan of overly patching the game of all the updates. But I do give them credit for the attempt to, you know, keep focusing on the game and trying as much as they can every step of the way to improve things that need to be improved and tweak things that need to be tweaked and add things into the game that weren't in the game at launch. I do give them credit for it, although I think some of the things are unnecessary, but we're going to look at what they changed for today. We had a title update about 2 weeks ago, like right at the end of or kind of like towards the middle-ish of November, and then we had a tuning update last week. So we've pretty much had like 3 weeks of updates for Madden 19, but there have been some good changes, and today there are not the biggest update, but there are, you know, quite a few good changes today, I would say. So let's get into it. So number one, we'll start here. I'm just gonna go over the important stuff. This is a update to franchise here, and a lot of people have been complaining about this. Every time I do an update video, they're in the comments complaining about this, so I'm sure you're going to be happy. They re-implemented the previous version of the franchise player lock camera, and they have a note by this. It says, due to community feedback about difficulties seeing the backfield action as a defensive player with the Mud Squad's camera, we have reverted back to the legacy player lock camera that views the field from the defensive perspective for franchise mode and player lock. So I've seen that complaint a bunch, so I'm pretty sure most of you guys that do play franchise mode are going to enjoy that. So that's a really big change to franchise mode. Here is another big change that kind of just affects more so franchise mode and offline players. It said that they updated the defensive play call AI for CPU controlled teams, and the note by this says that the AI defensive play calling will now more closely match the tendencies each NFL team has shown over the course of the season up to this point. So basically all that means is they're just trying to make obviously, when you're playing against a computer, they want their play calling to, you know, just like it says, closely resemble what they do in real life. So if you're playing a team that, you know, that blitzes a lot in real life, then you're probably going to see more blitz calls. If you're playing against a team that just kind of brings their four-man rush more so in real life, you're going to see that, you know, more often. So I think that's fine. Anytime you can add, you know, make the game resemble real life, I think that's a good thing, especially for franchise mode players. So that's basically all the things that, really important things franchise-wide. Here they made a tuning update. This right here might be my favorite part of the update. If you guys watch my channel, you know a few days ago I made the video about how overpowered the spin move has been. And a lot of people agreed, but there were also people in the comments saying, no, the spin move's fine. You know, it takes skill. It takes, you know, a lot of skill to pull off the spin move. It doesn't take skill to pull off the spin move. It just doesn't. Anybody can do it. I can do it with my eyes closed and be successful almost every time. Very easy to pull off the spin move. And my biggest complaint was not necessarily how easy it is to pull it off, but that there was really no risk reward for using the spin move. In older Maddens, you know, if you tried to use a spin move and you were playing against somebody good on offense, you know, and he made the right hit on you, you would fumble the ball. There was risk reward to it. EA has finally added that back into the game. I don't know why it was ever taken out, but the tuning here says they increased the fumble chance when hit with a hit stick tackle during a steerable spin ball carrier move. This applies to all game styles and difficulty levels. So this applies to offline, online, competitive, arcade, and simulation style. If you try to spam the spin button and you're against a good player that knows how to line up that hit stick and you spin right into their hit stick, there's a good chance you're going to fumble the ball now, and that's all I want. I want some risk reward to the spin move. I don't like whenever you have something that, you know, the spin move is already easy enough to pull off. You know, they can honestly dial that back and tune it down to where it's not as successful as it is too, but at least make it to where if you're going against a good player and he knows you want to just spin every play and he lines up that hit stick and you spin right into it, you should definitely fumble the ball. There has to be some risk, and now we have that. So if you're one of those people that just loves to spam the spin move with no consequence, well, now you have to think twice about it. That is probably my favorite part of the update and one of the biggest changes to this update. Here's another pretty big change done to special teams. It says that they added logic for ice the kicker, so that when the kicker is iced by an opponent, the iced state will remain intact for the remainder of that drive. Here's a note that further explains that. It says this is an improvement to ice the kicker to prevent the offense from running a wasted play or calling a timeout of their own to remove the ice state, and does so by simulating the assumption that continuing to run a kicker on and off the field multiple times before a critical kick would in and of itself put him in a pressure kick state, which is very true. So some of you may know, for example, let's say you got 10 seconds left in the game, and I the opponent has one timeout, so I come out to kick my field goal with 10 seconds left to win the game. Opponent calls a timeout. Okay, now my kicker's iced. But because I have time left, I could then come out on the next play, as long as it's not fourth down. I can come out on the next play and maybe run a QB sneak, and if I have a timeout left, and then call my own timeout, and then the ice state is over. Or if I don't have any timeouts left, I can come out and I can spike the ball, and it's going to waste 1 second off the clock, and then ice the kicker goes away. So what they're saying now is you can't do any of that to remove ice the kicker. If somebody calls that timeout late in the game to ice your kicker, that's going to remain for the rest of the drive no matter what you do, which, I mean, either way, I don't really care either way on that. It is definitely a big change because there are some people that have trouble making iced kicks. Me personally, I don't have trouble making ice kicks, so it doesn't really apply to me, but a lot of people do. So if you're one of those people that would try to cancel the iced kick, you can't do that anymore. It's going to remain intact. Some more special team stuff here. It says added logic for field goal blocks to prevent players from spamming the off the line mechanic on the R2/RT button to achieve a perfect jump on the snap. Mistiming the button press will result in an early jump animation, a stamina penalty to that player, and possibly an offsides penalty. This new logic applies to all game styles and difficulty levels. So basically, if you're one of those people that just try to spam the right trigger to try to perfectly time a block kick, that's gonna, there's gonna be consequence to that now, which, again, those type of fixes, I'm always okay with those type of fixes. When we're talking about a fix that eliminates the spamming of something, or eliminates, when timing is taken into place, it should matter in the game, and you shouldn't be able to just spam something over and over. You shouldn't be able to just spam the spin move over and over and be successful. You shouldn't be able to spam a button over and over and get a perfectly timed block kick. That's not how it should go. It's timing, stick, all that should matter, so that's a good change in my opinion. Next up, some pass coverage. Basically, they did some tuning with pass coverage to fix the cover 3 match. So if you remember last update, they did a lot of changes with the cover 4 quarters and cover 4 palms, which is also a match coverage of defense, which is something they're really trying to implement and get going in Madden. And it's kind of been slowly progressing. So they kind of fixed a lot of the cover 4 stuff. Now they're fixing the cover 3 match, and there's a bunch of stuff here, but basically overall they just fixed the principles of the outside zones, the hook zones, and the seam flats to match the routes that they weren't matching before, or weren't doing it consistently. So definitely something I'm gonna have to check out, but it definitely seems that the match coverage is further improving, which is good. Here we have a blocking update. This is kind of another small update. It says addressed an issue that would sometimes cause a running back hot routed to pass block on play action plays to run past the line of scrimmage before entering his pass block assignment. So basically on some play action plays, if you would block the running back, he would he would run past the line of scrimmage instead of staying in the backfield. That's not something I actually saw, but apparently that was a problem. And here's the last important update. This is actually another big one. This is something we've been asking for since last year. I honestly can't believe it took this long to get it in. I'm sure there's a good reason that it took this long, but thank God it's finally here. They added the ability to play squads versus friends, MUT squads. So here's the note. It says squads play of friends is a new title, or a new tile on the squads hub. You first choose if you want to play a 2v2 or a 3v3 game. A team of 2 cannot match up against a team of 3, and vice versa. Once you select the event, the party leader will be prompted to enter a password when they ready up. Coordinate with your opponents to have them use the same password. Once you begin matchmaking, you will only match up against another team using that same password. So Mud Squads was added to the game last year, 3v3, but there was no play a friend feature. You can only just ready up and play against whoever you matched up against. You know, last title update, they added the 2v2, which was, in my opinion, been the best addition to the game. 2v2 squads is the most fun you can have on Madden right now, in my opinion. A lot more fun than 3v3 in my opinion, but we still didn't have the play a friend feature. You still could only match up versus random people. Now they finally have the feature implemented to play a friend. So if me and my buddy match up and we make the password, you know, Madden 19, whatever, and then we get our other two friends, we say, hey, when you ready up, put the Madden 19 password in. We're going to match up and be able to play our friends. This is great. I think this is going to be good just for YouTube content, for Twitch, you know, live streaming content, you know, seeing some of like the best players in the world play squads versus each other and things like that. I think this is a really good addition. I would say this in the addition to the fumbles on the spin move are probably the two biggest changes to this update, along with the player lock camera, because that has just been requested for a while now. So not a huge update, but definitely a few important things to this update. And again, you know, props to EA for continuing to get this stuff handled. So yeah, we'll do a test video maybe tomorrow and test some of these things out and see how it's working. But that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you got any other things that you think need to be addressed, definitely drop them in the comments below and I can pass that feedback along to the developers. But that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.